The RGB color space. What is it, and why does it matter when you're creating artwork for direct-to-film prints or DTF transfers? The RGB color space is the red, green, blue color space. It's what you see when you're looking at a computer screen because RGB is used for light-emitting devices like your computer, your iPhone, your iPad, your Android device. Let's take a look at the RGB color space in practice by switching over to a demo in Photoshop. So here I've got just a piece of artwork pulled up. I'm going to go over and grab my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to select a color like this red down here. Now, if you look over here on the right-hand side where my mouse is, you can see there's an R, a G, and a B. The RGB values go from 0, which is nothing, to 255, which is the max. And so if you wanted to get a pure red color, you could change this to 255, where it is now, and I can drop this to 0, and I can drop that to 0, and now you've got a pure red. If you wanted pure blue, just go 255 on the blue and go 0 on the red, and now you've got a blue color. Now, I'm not showing you this because I'm suggesting this is the way you should set and edit your colors in RGB. In fact, you very rarely do that. This is just a demo about how those colors actually work. Now, I want to point out a couple of things about the RGB color space that are really important to understand. The RGB color space has a very large gamut. If you haven't seen our video on color gamut, I'll leave a link down in the description below. I would say go check that out. It's good foundational knowledge. In short, the gamut is just the number of colors that you have to play with in the RGB color space. Well, any color space, but in the RGB color space, there are about 16.8 million colors that you can create by combining those three numbers together. It's also important to understand that your eye can actually distinguish only about 250,000 different colors in that color space. That just means that if you were to look at this red and this red and this red, at a certain point, when they're so close together, you can't really see the difference or distinguish the difference. So if you cluster those colors together in groups that are distinguishable by the human eye, you're going to be at about 250,000 colors. So that's one important point to understand. Another important point to understand about the RGB color space is that that doesn't always translate to exactly what you would see on a final print with a DTF. And that's because printers, most DTF printers, if they don't have color expanders, can only print about 20,000. A high quality DTF printer can print about 20,000 distinguishable colors. If it has color expanders on the printer, that number can bump up to about 50,000. That's still significantly different than the 250,000 colors you get in the RGB color space, and so there's not always an overlap. What it means is what you see on your screen may not always translate to a physical print. The reason that's really critical to understand is because if I switch over here and take a look at some tools that are common that people use to create their DTF artwork, especially web-based tools like a Canva, a Kittl, maybe a Corel Go, all of those tools are, you're viewing all of those tools in the RGB color space because you're looking at them on the screen. Now, I do know that Canva and Corel Go, at least, you can switch it into the CMYK color space, which has, as I mentioned, fewer visible colors that can hopefully help you get down to a more, I'd say, accurate color if you're really going for high color accuracy. But there's still a difference there, and you have to be aware that the RGB color space is what you're seeing on the screen when you're working with your artwork. It has 250,000 distinguishable colors in that color space out of the 16.8 million it can actually produce. And so when you do see your final print, it may not be actually, super, super precise, but that's really just like this axiomatic truth of gravity, right? You've got gravity. You can't break the law of gravity. You can't break the law of, color spaces. And it doesn't matter who your printing partner is. You're going to have some potential variations there, and it's something to be aware of. In later videos, we can talk about how you can hit really high color accuracy like a sub 1 or sub 2 delta E. I'll even explain what that is in other videos. But before you can understand that, it's really important to understand color gamut, which is a video I'll link to down below, and what specifically is the RGB color space. Hope you found this useful. Like and subscribe over here, probably right there. And we'll see you in the next video.